We're about to dive into one of the most emotional, high-stakes moments in the entire book of Genesis. And trust me, this is way more than just a family road trip. It's a story about a tearful reunion that was decades in the making, a divine promise given in the pitch black of night, and the journey that literally marks the birth of a nation.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with a crucial promise made in the dark. Then we'll follow this massive caravan all the way to Egypt, witness an unbelievable reunion, and finally, break down Joseph's genius strategy for his family's survival. Let's get into it.
Okay, so we kick things off at a major turning point. Jacob, who's an old man now, is on the verge of leaving the promised land, maybe forever. This is the biggest move of his entire life, and you can just feel the fear and hesitation hanging in the air.
So our story opens with Jacob, who's also called Israel, at a place that's just loaded with family history, Beersheba. I want you to picture him there. He's standing under this enormous desert sky at an old, weathered stone altar. You can see the smoke from his sacrifice curling up into the twilight as he makes this one last, desperate plea for guidance before he leaves everything he's ever known behind.
Verse 2. Now in the dead of night, a voice just slices through the darkness, and it calls his name twice, that's always for emphasis. Jacob, Jacob. You can imagine him jolting awake, his heart pounding, as he answers into the silence, "Here I am." Verse 3. Then the voice identifies itself. "I am God. Do not be afraid to go to Egypt, because I will make you into a great nation there." You can just see the worry on Jacob's face start to melt away, replaced by this incredible awe. Verse 4. And then the promise gets deeply, deeply personal. "I myself will go down with you, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes." I mean, wow. That's the ultimate comfort. It's not just a promise of a safe trip, but of a peaceful end, with the son he thought was dead right there by his side. This was the one thing he needed to hear.
So with that divine green light, all the hesitation just vanishes. It's replaced by purpose, and the entire clan, the whole family, is set in motion. A great caravan is about to be formed. Verse 5. At dawn, the journey kicks off. Imagine Jacob's sons carefully lifting their old father into one of the royal carts that Pharaoh himself sent. I mean, that's a huge sign of honor right there. Verse 6. The whole caravan lurches into motion. It is a massive undertaking. Think of a sea of cattle, sheep, and goats, plus all of their possessions, kicking up this huge trail of dust. They're literally closing the chapter on their life in Canaan. Verse 7. And the scale of this thing is just immense. This is not just a family, it's an entire tribe, sons, daughters, grandkids. This long procession snaking its way across the desert, all heading toward a brand new destiny.
Okay, so what comes next isn't just a list of who's on the trip. It's basically an official census. This is the foundational list, the founding members of the people who will become the 12 tribes of Israel.
The final head count comes to 70. Now, what's so fascinating is that 70 isn't just some random number. In the world of the Bible, 70 is symbolic. It represents a complete family, the perfect seed from which that great nation God promised is going to grow.
So verses 8 all the way through 25 give us this official family roster, and it's all organized by Jacob's 4 matriarchs. As you see here, the text meticulously lists out the descendants from Leah, then Zilpah, then Rachel, and finally Bilhah. And this is so much more than a list of names. It's the official accounting of a nation's founding members. Then verses 26 and 27 tie it all together. You have 66 people who made that long trip from Canaan. And when you add in Joseph and his 2 sons who were already in Egypt, you land on that perfect, symbolic number 70.
All right, after all the logistics, the long, dusty journey, and 22 years of grief and separation, the moment that we've all been waiting for has finally arrived. This is the absolute emotional heart of the entire chapter.
Verse 28. To make sure everything goes smoothly, Jacob sends his son Judah on ahead. Think of him as the family's ambassador, racing to find Joseph and get directions to their new home in Goshen. Verse 29. And then the climax. Joseph, the second most powerful man in all of Egypt, doesn't send a messenger. No way. He gets his own chariot ready and rushes out to meet his father. And when he sees the caravan, he leaps down and they finally embrace. The Bible says they just held each other and wept for a good while. Can you even imagine 22 years of pain and sorrow just pouring out in one single moment?
Verse 30. Jacob finally pulls back and he looks into the face of the son he was sure was dead. And he says, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face and know you are still alive." In that instant, the greatest sorrow of his life is completely erased. His family is whole again, and he can finally, truly be at peace.
But the story doesn't end there.
The incredible emotional reunion now has to give way to some practical planning. And Joseph, who is always the brilliant administrator, has a strategy to make sure his family doesn't just survive in this new land, but that they thrive.
Verses 31 and 32. Joseph immediately switches from being a son back to being the prime minister. He gets his brothers together and he lays out the game plan. He says, I'll go to Pharaoh first, I'll announce that you're here, and I'll tell him you're shepherds who brought all your livestock. Verses 33 and 34. Then he coaches them for their huge meeting with the king. When Pharaoh asks you what your job is, tell him you've been herdsmen your whole lives. Now, why is this so specific? Joseph knows that the Egyptians kind of looked down on shepherding. And that little cultural detail is the key to his whole plan. By being honest about their job, they'd be given their own separate fertile territory in Goshen. It was a brilliant strategy to protect their identity and guarantee their prosperity.
So, the stage is set. The family has arrived, they've had their reunion, and they've got a very clever plan. But everything, absolutely everything, now hangs on one critical meeting. How is the most powerful ruler on earth going to react to this humble family of shepherds? And that's where we leave the story, right on the edge of a royal encounter.